On the day of the event, May 5th, there was a press release issued by the city, and I believe Valero was part of that press release, that said, quote, Valero is actively working to correct the problems that led to the flaring. What specifically has Valero done in the last 13 months to correct the problems that led to the flaring?
Yeah. I'm not the right person to answer that question. Thank you.
Okay, the question I have is the same I just asked a second ago. Why can't Valero release information to the city when it releases it to the state or to their board, at the same time?
Yeah, so we've shared several letters. We try to be upfront and provide information when it's available. Obviously, the May 5th event, right, there's another party that's involved, PG&E as well, and so that has had some impact on things, but we do the best we can.
Okay, that's one answer. That's a little, no offense, that's a little shaky because that is sort of, again, the crux of the matter. We get information sort of through a third party. It's either coming from the state or it's coming from the air board, so we don't get it in a timely manner. And we get it, we can pretty much do what we want with it when we get it. But that's just like a concern.
Okay. We feel like we provided information in a timely manner. Thank you.
Thanks.
So if you're ops director, then you must know a bit about the power situation. So what can you tell us about Valero's position, thoughts, corrective actions so that this will not happen again from a power perspective?
Right. So unfortunately, because of pending litigation, I'm not sure I can discuss much of the case.
I was afraid you were going to say that, which makes it very difficult on me, because that is a critical, to me, it's a critical area that we have to have answered. And I'm not so sure. Well, okay, so let me ask another question.
Sure.
So we got the power. So how can it work that we can be assured that we have the power situation straightened away, so that doesn't happen again? Two, that we have complete, and that's very vague term right now, neighborhood monitoring and fence line monitoring without an ISO. How can we get that achieved?
So break it down for me into two questions. I think I heard two questions. So one was about the power situation. How do we know that's not going to occur again?
And if I could respectfully intervene, Councilman Schwartz, I'm one of the attorneys for Valero, and that's something that we could have a one-off conversation with you. We'd be happy to try to involve PG&E.
Can you get closer to the mic, please?
Sorry, can you hear me now?
Yeah.
Yep.
Sorry, I'm Elizabeth Bourbon. I'm a lawyer with Valero, and that's something that we have also been frustrated by the lack of information from the PG&E side. But we would be very happy to try to arrange a meeting with you and with PG&E to try to get the answers.
Well, I guess if I could ask a question maybe from a different perspective, I'm assuming that Valero is certainly not happy that the event happened for the reasons that it happened. So Valero's got to be trying to do something to prevent that from happening again. And it may not have anything to do with PG&E other than the fact that power may have to transmit through there. So is there anything at all that you can tell us that give us a little bit of confidence that there's a resolution coming down the path?
So I'm not sure there's anything I could say here and now tonight, but I certainly could have a side conversation, separate meeting where we can talk in more technical details around the plans that we have in place and what we are doing. As far as the power side of it,
what about the monitoring
That's something where
side?
we would probably want to involve people with the appropriate expertise to answer your questions, but we would be happy to set something up.
What about the monitoring aspect of it? I know you just had, the BAQ, the Air District just approved the fence line.
right?
But
So
if
we
I
have
recall
the current
correctly,
fence line monitoring plan as written.
right, but that's just a few monitors, is just on the east side, correct?
It is on the south, well, I actually think we have a map that
I
we
would
can
suggest-
show you, but
I would suggest that probably the best thing to do is, as Chris had suggested, we'd be happy to sit down with you and the folks at the Air District to go through the details of that plan with the folks who are most familiar with how that was designed and all the considerations that went into it, the capabilities of the equipment and all those details.
Okay, another question. How open do you believe, how open would Valero be to adding additional neighborhood monitors?
well, I certainly think it was something that we could consider and discuss.
Consider what?
I think it's something we can discuss. I mean, we're open to communication around it. I'm not going to commit to something tonight.
No, I know you can't commit. I get that part. I
Watch it,
understand that part.
please.
So it's making very difficult, obviously. I'm not expecting you to give me answers here today, but the problem for me is that while I do believe that the new state regulations meet or exceed Contra Costa, Richmond, and everything else in the county, I get all that part. There's still some things I'm not comfortable with. And I'm trying to figure out if there's a way to get that stuff taken care of without having to do an ISO. Sure. But if there isn't, then there's only one path for us to go.
So let's not have a continuing discussion, because
Yeah,
I
I'm
actually
done.
have
Thank
a
you.
bunch of cards that people put in, and so as soon as we finish with the questions of Ms. Sullivan, I'm going to go back to my stack of cards, okay?
If I might address that last
if you've submitted
point
a card,
from Councilman Schwartzman, that is exactly why Valero has suggested that we think it would be helpful to sit down for some detailed discussions with staff. We think that it's premature to force those discussions in the context of an industrial safety ordinance. We think that there's still plenty of detail that we would be very happy to work out in some discussions, bringing together folks with the appropriate expertise and your staff.
Okay.
okay, thanks so much. Next question, keeping in mind that we have cards on deck.
With all due respect, I understand that you're in litigation with PG&E over what happened on May 5th. But our interests are looking forward, which are not subject to litigation. So why are you not comfortable talking about what Valero is doing to see that this kind of thing doesn't happen again?
Well, all of that has to do with the litigation that is pending.
Really? What you're going to do in the future has to do with what happened in the past.
So let's not be argumentative.
Well,
You
I
asked
don't
a question
understand.
and she gave
Okay,
you an answer.
and the other point I want to make is, you know, there was
So
suggestions.
to clarify, to explain to you what we were going to do differently going forward, I'd have to set the stage to explain where we think PG&E
Well,
was involved, and that's the part I can't comment on. I'm not trying to be vague or to not answer
you're
the
suggesting
question.
that we meet individually or out of the public eye to talk about this, but the public has a real interest in what's going on.
Sure.
And I don't think it's necessarily in the public interest to have these offline private conversations between you and us without public understanding and participation.
Okay, thank you. Any other?
I would like to just clearly restate something that I had hoped was clear, but I'm not sure it was. So I would just like to make sure that it is.
Okay, well, as long as it's really brief and there's no objection from the council. Go ahead.
Great. So the themes that you all have expressed tonight, the frustration about talking about wanting to be able to communicate clearly about the causes of the incident and what Valero is doing to prevent recurrence, fence line monitoring, community monitoring, better communications with the city, which is something that I can assure you Valero very much wants to heal this relationship. We're more than happy. We are, in fact, eager to sit down and talk with you all. You do not need an industrial safety ordinance to do that. And in fact, I think that may actually frustrate some of the goals that I think we would all like to accomplish.
Okay, thanks.
That's it.